Duck hunting is deeply woven into the cultural fabric of Arkansas. It, in some ways, defines this state. People are very concerned. People are very concerned here. Duck hunters, if you ask 100 of them, 98 or 99 would probably tell you it's not as good as it used to be. They say, I'm not seeing any ducks. Where are the ducks? They're not here. How come we don't see as many ducks as we used to? How come I'm not killing as many ducks as I used to?
I think the notion that duck hunting in Arkansas, the feeling that something's changed is real.
It'll never be the gun that takes the last duck away. It's going to be the lack of habitat. It's a very fragile ecosystem that is under threat every day.
People my age and older are worried that things may change, that it won't come back. We will wake up at 4:30 in the morning, sometimes earlier. You wipe the sleep out of your face and eyes and get all your layers on, because it is pretty cold typically when we're out there. Grab your boots, grab your duck calls. And then, you know, you go out either by boat or walk into the flooded timber. Find an opening in the trees where the ducks can get in. You start setting up. Figure out where we're going to place the decoys. You know, figure out which tree I'm gonna stand next to and lean on, hide behind. So you get everything set up, and then, you know, it's just a kind of a waiting game. You start to see that glow in the eastern, southeastern sky this time of year. I mean, it's magical.
I'm familiar with that magic. As a native Arkansan, I grew up hunting ducks with my father in the natural state.
Hunters are out there for the camaraderie of it. They're out there to experience being outside. They're out there for the tradition of it.
I started duck hunting when I was 8 years old. My father started taking me. It wasn't the hunt per se, it was the whole experience of the hunt. Just spending that quality time for 3 or 4 hours with my father.
I think I went on my first duck hunt when I was 4 years old. Wasn't shooting, but my dad took me along, and, you know, just so many great memories. I learned a lot about not just hunting and waterfowl, but life.
I mean, really, at the most fundamental level, we're all descendants of successful hunters. Wild waterfowl is some of the best meat. You can't get more free range than a wild mallard, right?
It's a very social type of hunting. You don't have to be quiet until the ducks are really immediately overhead. You can laugh and joke and tell stories.
There's no way. No way. Oh, man.
Magic, camaraderie, family. They've made duck hunting a way of life in Arkansas. But today, hunters in my home state are worried this bad season is a sign of things to come. And if bad seasons are the new normal, it could just change the state forever.
You go anywhere in really the continent and talk to waterfowlers, and if there's one place people mention, it's Arkansas.
But why Arkansas specifically? And what has hunters asking? Why are they not seeing as many ducks? To answer those questions, we need to understand how changing weather, newer farming practices, and habitat changes may be altering how ducks migrate, and why Arkansas might be on the losing end.
Habitat needs for ducks, like all wildlife, you can really simplify it down to food, water, and cover in most cases. That's true for ducks. The vast majority of ducks wintering in Arkansas nest far from here, mostly in the northern U.S. and prairie Canada. Up there, it's a lot of prairie wetlands. Prairie pothole region is what this area is called.
While ducks might breed in prairie Canada, it's too cold to winter there. So when the timing is right, they migrate south. How and why they migrate is complex, with a lot of variables at play. And not all ducks are the same.
Most of migratory behavior in wildlife and in ducks is primarily triggered by photoperiod, we think. So days start to get shorter in the fall. Most people think about weather, and they're right to generally, because ducks do migrate on cold fronts. They migrate with favorable conditions. They migrate when a week goes by and they're standing on ice.
So days get shorter, the shallow wetlands up north freeze over, the north wind starts blowing, enough evolutionary switches flip, and ducks start to fly south. And for a lot of these birds, they'll end up in Arkansas or Louisiana.
Arkansas's importance as the duck capital of the world is biologically all about geology. Knowing what we know about migratory bird behavior, they follow river courses. Branching out from the Mississippi River, you'll find the Arkansas, the White, the Black. All these rivers start coming together to form this massive floodplain, and it's really about this kind of geological confluence. People talk about Arkansas as being at the bottom of the funnel. You have this funnel, if you will, of the Central and Mississippi flyways that really do come together in Arkansas.
Ducks winter in wetlands. If those rivers flood in the winter, like they have historically, it creates a system of flooded forests rich in acorns and bugs, two of ducks' primary food resources. But in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, a lot of these forests were chopped down to become farms. Luckily for Arkansas duck hunting, the primary crop of choice is rice.
We like to think of rice fields as kind of surrogate wetlands. They're about the most wildlife-friendly crop you can find.
So Arkansas has a unique set of agricultural and geological factors going for it. And that has allowed the duck hunting industry to thrive here, to the tune of more than $230 million in retail sales, providing more than 4,700 jobs, and generating more than $50 million in tax revenues. And much of that business flows to rural communities, not urban centers.
Duck hunters like to spend money. They like their stuff, they like their gadgets. It's kind of a gear-intensive sport, and so there's a lot of economic impact for all the stuff that people need or think they need to go duck hunting. We're talking thousands of dollars per year per duck hunter expenditure on average.
But for hunters to invest in all that, the ducks have to actually get here. And that's what has hunters worried.
If they don't have something to push them down, lack of food, lack of open water, they don't need to fly. There's no reason to burn that energy and fly further south. They'll go just as far south as they need to.
Every hunter instinctively knows there are natural ebbs and flows to duck seasons. Some years you don't get enough rain to flood the rivers. Others, it's not cold enough up north to push the ducks south. But in speaking with numerous Arkansas hunters, they're worried about a more systemic type of change.
We all know there are definitely changes happening, right? Exactly how they manifest is pretty hard to predict. So you kind of want to walk that line of not thinking doom and gloom for the next 50 years, but being honest with ourselves that the changes are afoot. And something's going on here.
Climate change, I don't think, is necessarily something that hunters immediately go to or we're talking about in the coffee shops or, at the hunting store or whatever. I do, however, think that it's in the back of their mind somewhere. I'll put it this way. If an Arkansas duck hunter is not considering climate change as something that could be diminishing their returns, so to speak, they probably should be.
Wetland habitats are changing too. Some good for ducks.
If you move down the flyway from their breeding grounds and think what's happened over the past 20 or 30 years, there's been a lot of habitat restoration done.
Some bad for ducks.
Habitat quality declines in Arkansas due to changes in rice agriculture. Producers aren't in the business of leaving more grain in the field, right? That's not what they're here for, right? People aren't building less efficient combines to sell to producers.
When it comes to rice farming, advanced seeds allow farmers to harvest earlier in the fall, and improved methods leave less rice behind in the field, both of which cut down on available food resources for the ducks come winter. And those improved habitats farther north, that could be great for ducks, but not so much for Arkansas duck hunters. So on a larger scale, if winters are more mild up north, rainfall patterns are changing, fewer food resources are becoming available in Arkansas, will it lead to a worse new normal?
Trey is going to get so pissed, man.
I definitely think there's an overall feeling that hunting is changing and maybe becoming less predictable, less reliable. I think it's more variable where you find them, and I also think that there are more hunters out there. I mean, you know, the pie is only so big, and we're cutting more slices of it.
They're a very passionate group, and they've been doing this for a long time and experiencing very regular success. And again, they still do over the whole landscape, season long. But individual duck hunters in an individual location, that predictability, we probably shouldn't expect that in the long term. For lots of different reasons, I think that may be leaving us. That's a tough pill to swallow for folks, right?
I talked to a few of those folks too. Not everyone believes this bad season was a result of geology or weather. Some accused state agencies like the Game and Fish Commission and private conservation agencies like Ducks Unlimited of being too concerned with the money the industry represents to enact unpopular but necessary policies. According to a 2003 report by the Arkansas Wildlife Federation's Duck Committee, there is simply too much hunting pressure throughout the Mississippi Flyway, as well as in Arkansas. They concluded that policies like generous 6 duck kill limits and lengthy 60-day seasons have depleted duck populations, specifically adult mating pairs. Their contention is that if adult birds don't make it through the season, they can't come back and bring their flocks in subsequent years. So, are they right? Is Arkansas a victim of its own hunting success? Or has the hunting landscape simply changed? Either way, the stakes are high.
It's hard to put into words what duck hunting means to Arkansas because it's so deeply woven into the cultural fabric of this state. Nobody else has the flooded timber like Arkansas does. And when you see those ducks break through the tops of those big oak trees, it is a spectacle to behold, for sure.
But when you get outside and you experience that, the beauty like we did this morning, that sunrise and those ducks, we made memories today. At the end of the day, that's all you got is your memories.
It's kind of just in our DNA to be hunters and gatherers, really. And I think this is just a perpetuation of that, to go out and to experience being outdoors, to spend some time with friends, to appreciate natural resources, and yeah, to harvest some of them and take them home and use the resources that are provided to produce food.
Absolutely, it scares me every day. I realize what we experienced this morning, the thousands of ducks that we saw flying today, one day could be none.
I think under certain conditions, we get the cold weather, the right amount of water, not too much, not too little, and we hit this Goldilocks zone, that we'll have a great duck season and great duck hunts. Now, I could be wrong. I don't know. I mean, who knows what the future holds, right? So I try to keep the faith.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.